Hey everybody, welcome to the Dino and Ted Show, episode 2. And we're going to be talking about Saturday, the ritual.
Yes.
That is, or used to be, because it's not no more, Saturday morning cartoons. Oh. Which always started with the Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes kind of.
It depended on where you lived, you know, whatever. Because what it was is, you know, you had.
And
like
for me, it started in the 70s.
Me too.
And then really hit big in the 80s there. Then, you know, we could talk about the rest. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, it seemed like
the nostalgia.
The three, you know, you had like, you know, ABC, NBC, CBS. During the daytime, I think it was like the local affiliates.
Yeah.
So they had these blocks of time that they had to fill up. Sorry, I'm a little... we're in Cleveland now. We're getting this, you know, well...
Yeah, we're sitting here. It's going to be negative 30 degrees below zero.
They're talking,
with the wind chill,
negative 30 and all this. I mean, you guys call it whatever you want. We call it Wednesday.
Just another day in Cleveland. Yeah.
You know?
Whether we're getting snow...
It ain't no big deal.
Yeah, whatever.
As long as your car starts, we all get where we got to go.
But okay, real quick, you can continue that in a second, but this is a ritual that kids in the 70s, 80s, and I suppose during the 90s, but
even into the 2000s, there were still some.
But this was a mainly the 70s and 80s type thing.
Yeah.
90s
there were a lot of stuff too.
Kids lived to get up every Saturday morning
early.
We would always look forward to Saturday morning. You get up, eat your bowl of cereal.
Had to be cereal. And what cereal am I going to eat?
Right. Yeah. Nerds, Cracker Jack, whatever.
In my house, it was like Cheerios, Popeye cereal, which didn't even come in
Popeye cereal.
You remember Popeye? It was puffed rice. It didn't even come in a box. It came in a bag.
It's like, Popeye ain't getting muscles from this air.
No, I think my dad bought it because he likes Popeye. And
right.
Cereal sucks.
But this was before cable.
It was like Sugar Pops without the sugar.
Yeah, this was before cable.
Yeah.
In a day and age
early cable days.
Where we looked forward to what was going to be on Saturday mornings with the cartoons. You know, after school with the horror host like that.
Oh, and
people
Saturday
had
afternoons
right after school.
Time.
You know, so this is back then. We looked forward to these things.
Saturday was the day.
As simple as it was, and we'd get up, get our cereal, and I'd plop in there, and the first thing I'd see was that Looney Tunes come across.
But, I mean, depended on the channel, and how this all started. Was advertisers realized, going back as, you know, even into the 50s and 60s, that there was this whole audience that they could tap into, and that was children. So the idea at first was to create little blocks of children's programming on Saturdays when kids are home.
Yep.
And advertise directly to them. You know, the parents aren't watching this stuff.
Right.
The kids are watching. Here's all the toy commercials, the candy and cereal commercials for
all
TV shows, movies, toys, anything that they could get kids to con their parents into buying. That's where they put it on.
Yeah.
At first, it started off as just...
It was a commercial success.
Yes. At first, it started off as just reruns of other shows that used to be on like during the week, you know, like after school and stuff. It would be like... Yogi and Huckleberry Hound and Rocky and Bullwinkle, Bugs Bunny,
Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Some channels couldn't even afford cartoons. That's the ones that would show like Laurel and Hardy and Three Stooges and the stuff that was like dirt cheap to show. But,
yeah.
You know, the very first made specifically for Saturday morning cartoon I found was Mighty Mouse, which
really?
I was a little surprised that it was Mighty Mouse. And
what year was that?
I can't remember what year.
It's got to be like 75-ish, something.
No, even before that. We're talking
talking
like late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
And it ran for 12 seasons.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. See.
And I remember some of those cartoons. The Harvey Tunes.
Oh, the Harvey Tunes. Yeah.
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
What was the cat? They had like a knockoff Tom and Jerry too type thing.
Can't even remember the names.
Yeah.
Oh, there used to be
Heckle Jekyll. What was that?
Heckle and Jekyll. Those were the crows.
Heckle and Jekyll.
Hey, old chum.
I loved
Heckle and Jekyll.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like the Hanna-Barbera ones, like
Yogi Bear.
What was it?
Jetson.
Pixie, Dixie, and Mr. Jinx. That was sort of like the Tom and Jerry one.
Pixie, Dixie.
It was two mice.
Yeah.
I hates those mices to pieces. Jabberjaw. Oh my God.
They played the Honeymooners one time.
Yeah.
Pixie and Dixie. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yes. Or even in Looney Tunes they did that. Maybe you're thinking of the Looney Tunes one.
Am I?
There was a Looney Tunes one that was like the Honeymooners with the mice.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe that's it then.
Yes.
But yeah, they did the Honeymooners, the Ralph Crampton, Ed Norton thing. Yeah,
right.
It was kind of cool.
And then as time went on, it's just built into all the major network TV channels would have this block of time, like from 8 to noon.
Yeah.
And they would, have these cartoons, and key among them was the advertising.
Oh, yeah.
And then it got to a point, I don't know if it was in the late 60s or maybe the early 70s, where a lot of parents, a lot of mothers were getting a little ticked off about this, realizing that they're just, they're feeding their children a bunch of violent, nonsensical cartoons, the stuff we love.
Oh,
and demanded,
are you telling me that stuff like that happened back then,
yes,
too?
absolutely. And then it became a federal law. The Federal Trade Commission got involved, and it was proclaimed, it was written as law that these networks had to include some educational programming within there. And so that's where you started getting the cartoons, like with the little morals at the end.
Yeah.
There had to be something for the kids to learn. So,
what was
Smurfs, you're like, oh, well, that's why, or I remember even watching Masters of the Universe where He-Man would always give a little moral to the story at the end. And that's why that shit had to be there.
And what was the Constitution? What was that?
Conjunction.
Well,
oh, yeah. Those were very educational. I'm a bill.
I'm a bill. I'm a dollar bill.
Or the bill that was going to go into a law.
Right.
He's sitting on the steps of the Capitol. I'm just a bill. But yeah, that's where you got those cartoons.
Right.
Those little things that would be in between the commercials or in between the cartoons. That's what they used to say, okay, that's educational.
But it was such an awesome thing. I mean, whether parents started getting upset or not, I mean, heck, that's just everyday stuff. Even nowadays,
things started to change in the '90s.
I think it was,
or even in the '70s, really, because
the peak was late '70s, early '80s. Yeah. That's when Saturday morning cartoons, I think, were at its peak.
Their best.
Yeah, at their best too.
'90s had some good stuff with. Like the X-Men and the Spider-Man.
Well, the 80s, Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man.
You know which one I loved in the 90s? Remember Eek the Cat?
Eek the Cat.
Kumbaya.
Why don't I'm trying to think.
Eek the Cat.
Okay. I'm sure.
And then there was a side cartoon on it called Terrible Thunder Lizards, and Dee Snider did the theme song to that.
No. See, different ones than me. Mm-hmm. I mean, the mainstays I watched was always the Looney Tunes ones that they played.
Now, I remember, you and I were talking about this, and I went on YouTube and I tried to find it. They actually, some stations showed some cartoons on Sundays. And there was a Looney Tunes, like a 2-hour Looney Tunes thing on Sunday mornings, very early. Yeah. And when it went off, there was this song, and they were all singing
and They'd
all
started
be crying these huge
tears
like,
and stuff.
Bud will be back next week, and it was I can't remember exactly how it went. And they'd all start getting happy.
Yeah,
that's not the one that was on Saturdays. That was Sunday.
Yeah, and that was
Saturdays was overture, cut the lights. This is it. We'll hit the heights.
Whatever.
And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it. Now that was the.
No,
and I always remember Muggsy and Rocking. Button your lip, Muggsy. That one was on everyone. Okay, boy. Button your lip.
Well, what were some of the other ones that I really liked was Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Yes.
And that's where they brung up.
Oh, holy cats.
That was awesome, wasn't it? I mean,
remember
that's where you had the villains.
It had, what was her name? It had Iceman and Firestar. Characters I don't think that actually existed anywhere
Wonder
else.
Twins?
Oh, that was the Justice League.
Oh, yeah, that was Justice
Wonder
League.
Twin Powers.
Yeah.
But remember in since you brought up Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Yeah.
Do you remember, they had all these control panels and everything behind the walls? Aunt May had no idea. Yeah. She'd leave the room, they'd flick a switch, walls all flipping
Right?
And I remember one episode where, like,
Oh my God.
Firestar and Iceman, they just, they change and go. And there's Spider-Man going, hey, guys, wait for me. I have to do it the old-fashioned way.
Right? Yeah.
It
was always a joke. Yeah. I love that.
But, yeah, I never missed that one. That was a great cartoon.
Yeah, that was one that always stood out. Because,
that was in the 80s.
Because they always had, like, they included all the characters, you know.
Yeah.
Unlike nowadays, I mean, it's very rare to get different characters because we're in a movie society now and stuff like that. But, yeah, they had them all, man. And
you got any other ones that were your favorites?
I know I always, Smurfs, of course. Super Friends, that's where you had Wonder.
Yeah, that was sort of like that's what I was saying instead of Justice League.
Yeah,
Super Friends.
And the Wonder Twins was funny because me and my sister all the time would, joke because, it's like, me in the shape of a pail.
It's like form of bucket, form of water.
Yeah, so it was.
And then they have some little monkey with them too, I think. Jan and Jason.
Why can't I remember? I think you're right. Yeah, and Wonder Woman always in that invisible plane,
which was outlined in white.
Yeah, so it's like it's not totally invisible. Yeah, look at our outline.
Did she have that in the movie? I didn't even watch the movie. Did she have the invisible jet in the movie?
I can't remember.
Probably not.
That's how much it. Yeah.
That's how much that movie stuck out with you, huh?
Let's see. Inspector Gadget.
I remember that one during the week. They didn't show it.
That was that was a little later in the 80s.
That was what was the actor's name who did his voice? He did Get Smart. What's his name?
Oh Jesus Christ.
I can't remember his name. But that famous guy.
Maxwell Smart. Missed it by that much.
I can't remember his name. But I used to.
Damn, I can't remember his name.
I'll get you, Gadget, next time.
Yes, and
Dr.
the cat.
Claw.
It was almost the inspiration for.
It was a knockoff
Austin
of
Powers.
No.
Yes.
It was a knockoff of James Bond with Blofeld, who always had the cat.
Right, but Austin Powers also did him with his cat,
which was a ripoff of James Bond.
Right, which was a ripoff of. Well,
I don't think Austin Powers was ripping.
Okay,
off
it was a little
Inspector
triangle.
Gadget.
No,
you're finding two things that were inspired by James Bond.
There you go.
That makes sense.
That's what I meant. Yeah. Okay, and Garfield and Friends, Thundercats.
Bill Murray. Oh no, Bill Murray didn't do the voice of Garfield in the show. He did it in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
I remember Thundercats a little bit more like on weekdays, but I'm sure they showed them on Saturdays as well.
Yeah. Thundercats, that was another big one.
I tried watching that again.
No,
because it was on, I think, Amazon or something. I tried watching, and that is a huge problem, especially with the '80s shows. Yeah. When I go back and try to watch them again, like with my kids, I want to introduce them to a show I watch it, go, oh my God, it's so bad.
Yeah.
But there are a few, and I will admit most of these are from the '70s that I think are fantastic.
Yeah.
Namely, I can watch Land of the Lost, which was a Sid and Marty Krofft show.
Yeah.
They did a whole bunch of Saturday morning shows. And theirs were typically...
The big puppet. What was that? Puff and stuff?
Yep. HR Puff and stuff.
Puff and stuff.
Land of the Lost, Sigmund the Sea Monster. Always something cool. What was it? Dino Girl, something like that. There was even one.
Dino Girl.
There was even one with Bob Denver from Gilligan, I think. Like a space one. So many. Wow. Yes. They did so many.
I'm sure I'd remember if I
the Boogaloos.
The Boogaloos, yeah.
Remember the Boogaloos?
Yeah.
We're talking about all these shows no one's probably ever heard of. But Land of the Lost, especially the first season.
Yeah.
And there was a remake in the 90s, a remake of Land of the Lost. You can find it on there if you want to watch it. But, it had some crude-ish stop motion with dinosaurs. But it's the exact kind of story I love. A lost world, dinosaurs, cavemen. But the thing about at least the first season of Land of the Lost, there's definitely a drop in quality with season 2 and especially 3.
Right, yeah.
But what they did is they got a lot of great science fiction writers for the first season of Land of the Lost. Even Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov in Star Trek, wrote an episode of Land of the Lost.
Wow, yeah.
And
cool stuff.
A lot of the writers from Star Trek wrote episodes for Land of the Lost.
For Land of the Lost, yeah.
The first season especially. Right. And the first season
then they got bums for 2 and 3.
Can be watched as a whole story.
Yeah.
because in the last episode of the first season, they find a way to go back home, but they have to. There's like a temporal void, and they have to replace that void with them. So it's like they go back, they go through a portal to the exact moment before they get lost.
Yeah.
So they get lost again, but the other ones go back.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be one big circle.
Gotcha.
They'll leave,
Yeah.
they'll come back.
Right.
So it does tell one whole story. You can view it as a beginning, middle, and end in the first season. And if you guys
stories,
remember
man.
Chaka, remember the little the Pacoonies? They were the little cavemen. They actually got people to develop a language when they speak. It is they did develop a real language for them.
Wow.
So I mean, there's a lot of thought.
And they went off. They went off. I think it's in South America somewhere, and they pushed those people over there, and there actually is a tribe down there that speaks that language.
There
right
you
now.
go, man.
I mean,
the Pacoonie.
They put them as deep and as far in the jungle as they could and left them. And the Pacoonies are still there.
The Pacoonies are still there. But it's a fantastic. The stories, the special effects aren't great.
No.
But the stories are so damn good in season 1. And I love H.R. Puff and Stuff.
Oh.
It was only 13 episodes
Uh-huh.
and a movie, Puff and Stuff the movie.
Right.
But I love that, just the colors. And I know there's the whole marijuana connotation that goes with it. But no, that's not. I mean, it's just a cool show.
Well, it's the day, it's the age that it was in. It was kind of that hippie-ish kind of stuff going
the end
on
of that.
there. So,
and I remember there was an extra on the DVD set, which I have.
Yeah.
About like an auction where they were auctioning off some of the props from the show, and they had many Freddie the Flutes.
Right.
And the guy who won it, I don't know, maybe it was one of Sid or Marty Croft came walking outside, and the guy's sitting on the floor after he won the auction, and he's just crying because this was such an important part of his childhood.
And he's got a piece of it now. Yeah.
Freddie the Flute. Oh. Hi Jimmy.
Go back and watch some of these things. I mean, we would recommend Land of Lost, like you said, first season.
Amazon's
definitely.
got a remake. There's a remake on Amazon
HR Puff
Prime.
and stuff.
Amazon Prime's got a remake of Sigmund and the Sea Monsters on there for you. So Sid and Marty Croft are still doing things. They're still putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
Another one I loved, and it's probably so politically incorrect now, was. Do you remember Lancelot Link's Secret Chimp?
Oh, yes.
They took all these chimpanzees, dressed them up.
Hold on. If you guys need to go do a search for Lancelot Link and the Secret Chimp on YouTube or wherever. But
you can find full episodes.
But
they took these whole slew of chimps,
real
chimpanzees, put them in clothes, had them driving cars. And it was Lance. He talked like Humphrey Bogart. Hey, sweetheart. And they'd move them out. Hey, sweetheart.
Put a little bit of peanut butter on it.
And he had Mata Hari. His
Mata Hari,
Hey, Lance. Hey, Lance. But I remember like the bad guy. I forgot his name. But he was like, you Dunkoff. Me and my dad, Ted. I found some online, and me and my dad watched. We were laughing our asses off. It is so funny.
That is something. You know what? Why don't I have that somewhere in my collection?
All the characters, Ali Assassin. I am Ali Assassin. The way they would move their mouth. I don't know if you'd be allowed to do that now. I don't know. Can you put a bunch of chimps on TV and humiliate them? I don't know.
Well, animal rights, I guess that.
Oh, hell with those. It's not like we're eating them or anything.
I don't see why not.
They're entertaining me.
Yeah, no, that was. I'm sure there's some reason why you shouldn't. Probably, like I said, the animal protective league and stuff like that. But it's
the loud minority.
That was so classic back in the day.
That is still one of my favorites.
Yeah, I will never forget Lancelot Link.
I even had 2,
and I need to get those now.
I got like 2 issues of the old comic book.
Yeah,
I had number 1 and number 3. They made a comic book of that show.
Right.
Yep. The Ali Assassin.
Lancelot Link and the Secret Chimps.
Lancelot Link. Oh, and there'd be the little breaks where they'd be like a hippie band playing a song.
Yes. When they go off the commercial, they got all their long hair and they're playing. Oh my God.
And the only other one I was going to mention.
I'm telling you guys, man, there were some memories,
the
man.
Remember Banana Splits?
Banana Splits.
The Banana Splits.
1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana. Oh my God.
The Dickies did a cover of that.
Yes, they did. The Dickies.
I have it.
Some cool. See, this is why we want to do this. Just memories. It's our childhood. It's something that sprang from the 70s and 80s, I say, but and especially the 80s, like that, with all that stuff that came
This is
out
where
there.
you would find out all the new toys that were coming out.
Yes,
if there was a movie coming out, you knew about it from this Saturday morning.
It's what kind of spawned our adulthood.
It was playground talk on Monday. Hey, did you watch whatever?
Look at this stuff, guys. Yeah, I mean,
Did you watch this? Did you watch? And there were so in the 80s, it got crazy. We had there was even a Fonzie one.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Fonzie and the Happy Days gang.
Well, let's
and a hot
say
air balloon. I think.
Okay, real quick. We had some good ones still in the 80s. They started going off to we got Dennis the Menace. We got, of course, the Smurfs. We got Count Duckula. Remember that one? That was a good one.
That was on Nickelodeon, from the same people that made the original Danger Mouse, which is on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it is. I didn't really care for the remake, but the old one's on Netflix as well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a cool cartoon. My dad loved it. I loved it. It ran for several seasons. It's sort of a British cartoon. It's a British cartoon, not sort of. But a secret agent mouse. But it's the little guy that hangs out with him.
Yeah.
Penfold. And then there's, the Baron. He's a frog. Baron Silas Greenback.
Right, yeah.
We'll get Danger Mouse. Danger Mouse.
Good stuff, man. And then you had the Transformers, which I'm not sure how well those hold up still, because I haven't gone back to watch those yet.
I was never that big on them.
Yeah.
GoBots, Transformers, G.I. Joe. I didn't watch it. I liked Robotech.
Tom and Jerry, of course.
See, I liked senseless violence. I watched Robotech and I watched Star Blazers.
Okay.
That was like a ship out in space.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was on
there were so many cartoons over that span that
and
were
some of them I can't remember
crazy.
if they were on school days or if they were on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Like do you remember Battle of the Planets?
Yes.
Which in Japan was Gatchaman. Mm-hmm. But they switched it all up for the U.S. ones. Mm-hmm. But then when I finally started watching Gatchaman episodes, they're pretty kick-ass.
No, those are pretty good cartoons. Yeah. Hell, then we had Animaniacs, Duck.
That was definitely, I think, a weekday show because I used to watch that every day.
Yeah.
And that still holds up.
Pinky and the
well.
Brain.
I have those at home as well.
Wasn't it 90s though?
That was 90s.
That was
Animaniacs. 90s. Yeah. That was sort of the best that the 90s had.
Smurfs were
80s. Do you remember the Shirt Tails?
They
were these little animals that lived in the park, and their shirts would just flash little things. Like, if one of them was confused, it would say, like, what?
Huh.
And one of them, there was a little monkey. He talked like Humphrey Bogart as well.
Really?
Hey, sweetheart.
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
You don't remember the Shirt Tails?
Vaguely I do, man.
There was the Get Along Gang.
Well, I remember that. Oh, what's the Wacky Races?
Wacky Races, 70s.
Yeah, that was towards the beginning of when we first started, like late 70s.
From that parent group because they felt it would encourage kids to gamble, to bet on who was going to win the race.
Oh, my God.
And I think that's fantastic. I think that's a fantastic.
Well, that was a great thing. We had fun. It was always fun seeing who's going to win this week and
hilarious.
stuff. That was a very fun show, man.
You had the
the
Captain Caveman ones and the Army ones and Penelope Pitstop and Dash. It was only in Europe. Remember I showed it to you? Mm-hmm. The commercial, it was a car commercial. It's only in Europe. Mm-hmm. But if you look up Wacky Races car commercial on YouTube, and it's got all the characters from Wacky Races, but it was a modern day 2 years ago
commercial, yeah.
And we didn't get that here. It was in Europe. But it even had
they get the good stuff.
Muttley, in the backseat. Like a CGI character.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
So it still lives.
Yeah. And early on we had Fraggle Rock, Schoolhouse Rocks.
Fraggle Rock, one of the first straight to cable shows,
Yeah.
I got to watch that first run when it was on HBO. We loved it. I love Sprocket.
Damn, we had Beetlejuice too.
There was a Beetlejuice cartoon in the 90s.
Yeah, Voltron.
When I was little, I even remember like the Jackson 5 cartoon, the Beatles cartoon.
Yeah, there were. Star Trek had a cartoon.
The Star Trek the Animated Series is. Mm-hmm. I see that as season 4.
Right.
Because actually it does, even though it's a half an hour.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Right.
almost all the original cast reprise their roles.
Yeah.
And there are at least a couple episodes that feature either characters, planets, or places from the original series. Mm-hmm. So it is an exact continuation.
Yeah.
And I love it. I have it on Blu-ray. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's pretty much part of the set, isn't it? Or is it a standalone?
You can buy it standalone. I bought a big set that had everything because I didn't have everything.
Right.
So
that's what,
I figured I'll just get it all and have it all in one box.
Yeah.
But the animated series is excellent. The animation's not bad. Mm-hmm. That was the thing about a lot of animation in these cartoons.
Yeah.
They were made on the cheap. Whoa.
If that showed up on the microphone.
That's a good microphone.
Right.
They they were made on the cheap. So you'll notice a lot of times, like the lips don't move very much. The characters and some of them don't move very much. There was an economy of animation.
They popped, like you said, they popped out so many. I mean, like you said, they even had a Fonzie one. I mean, they did everything they could possibly do. They were churning them out like crazy.
There was Mork and Mindy. There was oh God, I can't remember all of them. But
we
there
ate
was
them
a Little
up.
Rascals one.
We ate them up though. Yeah.
I watched them all.
You know, it's
now there were some that I thought that were pretty exceptional. I don't know if it's on the list you're scrolling through there, but like not the many adventures, but the adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Beautifully animated.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful stories.
Yep,
That's a fantastic one.
It is.
Of course, Looney Tunes was always nicely animated. Anytime Pink Panther was on, I always liked
hell
it.
Yeah!
Even though it wasn't beautifully animated,
and
it was animated with a sort of like Art Deco style,
right?
That its own thing.
Yeah.
Especially the early Pink Panther cartoons are fantastic.
The Ant and the Aardvark.
Oh yes,
was part.
But
of
I always
Pink
loved the
Panther
Inspector.
Oh well, of course. I mean,
Don't say si, say we.
Say we.
Si, I mean we. Oh. What other ones we got on that list? Fat Albert. There's one you could never get on TV now.
And the Cosby Kids.
Not just because of Bill Cosby, but because you got a character named Fat Albert.
It's fat.
It's real hair.
And the one dude always had his big, gigantic 70s hat over him with eyes coming.
It was so weird. That was Dumb Donald.
Yeah.
There was Bill and Russell.
Yeah.
That was actually Bill Cosby and his brother Russell.
Yeah.
There was Fat Albert. There was Weird Harold. There was Rudy.
Yeah.
With the hat. He was hey man, I saw this cat talking to another cat.
Yeah.
There was Mushmouth. Hey be mamby, wubby yooby dooby. If you hear people doing that, that's where it comes from.
Wubby yooby dooby. I remember him saying that.
I remember them all. Remember they used to, and they hung out in the city dump.
Right.
With all the used hypodermic needles, rusty metal, and they built a clubhouse. And they had a TV in there, and they'd love to watch the Brown Hornet. It was like a spaceman.
The Brown Hornet.
Brown Hornet.
Ted, man, what would I do without you? Yeah, you're remembering.
I tell you, man, my memory is good on most things.
Oh my God.
But I remember watching one episode one time, and Rudy was like thinking he was going to be up on stage. He's like, "Yeah, I can see it now. Me up on the stage, waving to the crowd." And then there's Russell in the background. He's like, "Dodging those tomatoes." And he's like, "Yeah, dodging those tomatoes." What?
Oh my God.
And they would play that game called Buck Buck.
Yeah.
Where they would line up.
Right.
Like one of them would hold on to the pole and they'd kind of grab each other and they would take turns jumping on the backs and oh man, I remember.
No, those were great, man. Yeah.
Oh.
And then you started getting into like Rugrats was 90s.
Rugrats and Nickelodeon.
Rugrats
which is a good show.
Yes, I loved that show. I got into that.
Ren and Stimpy. Which at least the first couple of seasons are gold.
Yeah. But those weren't Saturday morning cartoons, though.
They were on. Yeah, I think they were on weekends.
Were they?
But it was Nickelodeon.
Right.
It wasn't on regular.
I'm specifically. I mean, you started out with the regular.
But that
TV,
was some of their competition.
Cable
was
came,
Nickelodeon.
Right. When cable came along, I mean that's. The Cartoon Network is what kind of...
Boomerang started, I think, in the late...
Or Boomerang, yeah.
Or Cartoon Network or whatever. I think started in the late 80s, so...
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, yeah, right around that time it started... It took
Cartoon
away...
Network used to just show, like, all the good shit. that we grew up watching.
Right.
Then they started getting their own programming.
Yeah.
Just now, like if you want to watch the good shit, now you got to pay for Boomerang.
Right.
Which is an extra channel that you got to get.
Yeah.
But that has like, Johnny Quest and Yogi and Johnny Quest. There was another one.
Right.
Fantastic.
Rocky and Bullwinkle show.
Rocky and Bullwinkle is very sublime. That is a prime example of what I'm talking about as far as the economy of animation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were out in Tijuana, just cell after cell after, and yeah, the animation is not good.
No.
But those stories and the wit in that show is what.
Yeah, that show they captured a little bit of magic
the puns,
there.
a lot of puns.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you had your crappy ones like Mask and.
Never watched. I know what Mask was. I never watched it.
No, neither. Then you got the Flintstone Kids.
Yeah, we got into that thing. There was even Little Roseanne. There was even like a little Roseanne cartoon with Roseanne and Jackie as little kids. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Berenstain Bears, Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons was fantastic. Yeah. That took some flack in the 80s too because Dungeons and Dragons was seen as being, evil and satanic and cursed by the devil. A lot of parents wouldn't let their kids watch that cartoon. It was a good cartoon. I haven't revisited it to know if it's still good, but I remember it being a very good show. As well as, and maybe I should probably leave it back there where it belongs, but remember Thundar the Barbarian?
Yeah.
With his fabulous sun sword. Sort of a precursor to He-Man.
Yeah.
But, Princess Ariel and that was fantastic.
No.
But I'm afraid to watch it again.
I know, those ones
That's the worst thing is when you watch it again and you realize, it's awful.
But you know what? It made an impact on you as a kid. So even if it is bad nowadays, it's still... there was a period when that made your day.
Remember the Planet of the Apes cartoon? Return to the Planet of the Apes.
Jesus,
there was Flash Gordon.
Yes. Those are the classics. Those are the ones. I mean, really, what spurred all of this on really is your basics, though. It's it started with like the Harvey Tunes, Hanna-Barbera, and then going into
Brothers.
Looney Tunes, and then. With Roadrunner, Coyote, Bugs Bunny, and them.
Oh,
and
couldn't you just watch like a whole hour of Roadrunner and Coyote?
Oh, yeah.
I could watch them till the cows come home.
That's what kept me those are what kept me. The other, and it made me stay there for all the other ones that weren't as good, but still, you're a kid.
Yeah, like I wasn't really big into Smurfs, but I knew something good was coming on after.
Right, yeah.
Then there was like Gummy Bears, the Woozles.
Oh, Ted,
my wife loved the Woozles.
Really?
Yep,
yeah.
She still talks
wasn't
about
there even a Wasn't there even a Q*bert?
Yeah, there was Pac-Man. There was a Q*bert cartoon.
Yeah, like Pac-Man, I said, towards the
Baby Pac.
Yeah, towards the end there,
Dragon's Lair.
They really got out of hand with what they were doing.
And then
let's animate it.
Especially in the 80s,
even been
the commercials were
Shirley
geared
one.
to sell. Yeah, there was a Laverne and Shirley.
Was there one?
Yes, there was.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God.
That's what I was thinking of with Mork and Mindy when I said there was a Laverne and Shirley cartoon. And Penny Marshall, who just died, that was Laverne.
Yeah,
who we grew up watching. Started off on Happy Days and then got their own show.
Yep.
But what was I just saying? In the 80s.
Yeah.
The cartoons, whether they were during the weekdays for school or on Saturdays, seemed to be really more geared towards selling toys.
Yeah.
Especially stuff like Transformers, Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe. Those cartoons existed only to sell toys.
Right.
They'd make a toy, boom. Next week
there were
it's
shows
in the
that took advantage of,
us.
Yeah. but you got some really good shows out of
That's
there.
Where you'd find out.
Yeah.
Like I even remember,
the Goof Troop.
Even in the 90s.
Yeah.
All right. In the 90s, I'm a grown man.
Yeah.
All right. And
we're kids
grown men.
We're kids at heart. So
we still collected action figures.
Yeah.
Now, remember when they first started making those new Star Wars figures, the Power of the Force, and then you and I had this huge... He lived near a Toys R Us. Yeah. He always got the figures before me. I knew
when the bus was... I mean, the truck was coming and delivering.
And I got a point I'm making here.
Yeah.
But when those first started coming out, like that first wave...
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend at the time that was going...
We missed Underdog, but anyways, go ahead.
Oh, Underdog with his little pill and he pops this pill and he becomes super.
But anyways, go on. Yeah.
And I had a girlfriend who was going to school out of a couple hours away, and I was at her place for the weekend hanging out. And and there was a commercial because I was watching. I was watching Saturday morning cartoons, and there was a commercial. Just like when I was a kid collecting the old Star Wars figures, you needed this order form from a box of Fruit Loops for Han Solo in the Stormtrooper disguise, exclusive mail-away figure. And so I had to I was like, we gotta go to the store.
Yeah.
I gotta find the box with that label on there. I gotta get my proofs of purchase together. Yeah. And I sent away and got the little Han Solo. It came in the same white box that they always came in.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's even as a grown man watching cartoons, I gotta get the toy. I got excited.
Telling you, that's what got us. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in our generation who, who collect toys, and that's a big part of their childhood, and it sticks with you. You know,
it's
what
like
I mean?
We collect them more now because they're cooler.
Well, of course. But
I mean, they didn't have anything.
I still love the cheap,
the vintage ones are cool.
But,
like some of our, our Universal monsters and things. Even though we had those, they were like the Mego figures, where it was just the head, the hands, and a cloth costume.
Oh yeah, they look bad, but again, if you like that nostalgic look to that stuff, it was. So Saturday mornings were great.
Yes.
The childhood, and the whole point of the show here was just our memories and what used to be, like what kids...
That was must-see TV for us.
Kids had the opportunity to look forward to something
every week.
And
then on Monday,
and now
get
you
together
can
and talk about it.
Right.
Hey, did you watch this? Or did you watch,
And that's when you had your clubhouses and stuff, and you could do these cool things and stuff.
And it went for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
well, until cable came out in the late '80s, and you had access to it at any time.
Yeah, I mean,
which slowly made Saturday mornings go away.
I actually even read too that the increase in the divorce rate had a little something to do with it too, because kids were getting shuffled from mom to dad, and mom and dad wanted to make a little bit, more of that time, so they weren't really watching Saturday morning cartoons as much. They were going off doing things, going places, whatever.
Yep.
And slowly but surely, the time blocks got smaller and smaller until finally it lasted up until the 2000s. I think
believe it or not,
the CW was the last channel that had a block of children's not necessarily cartoon, but children's programming. Yeah. Because not all of this was cartoons. That's where you had like Saved by the Bell and stuff like that. Yeah. Those were usually on a little bit later.
And see, But, I don't consider that, but whatever.
And it's like you still have access to a lot of cartoons on Netflix or Hulu, and Hulu's got Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, and Amazon and all these things. So I mean, kids can still, I suppose, binge and watch a bunch of cartoons.
Well, yeah, but not in a way that we did.
But not in the same way. I guess
and that was just programming in general.
Right.
I mean,
the cartoons live on. But the experience that we had growing up of looking forward to Saturdays, and I looked forward not just to Saturday morning, Saturday. I was a fat kid. I'm a fat adult, but I was a fat kid. I was a thin teenager, but I was a fat kid. And I didn't go outside on Saturdays. Yeah. Because then when the cartoons were done, Superhost came on. And Superhost, as I've said on our shows, because we have multiple shows now, time and time again, he would show a couple of monster movies, double feature usually, until his time got cut more and more and more as it went on.
And then at night, we had horror hosts like Big Chuck and Little John.
Son of Ghoul.
Every big city kind of
Akron.
Yeah, every big city kind of had it. So we had something to look forward to almost every single night. 2 monster
movies with some Stooges or Laurel and Hardy shorts in between. Yeah. He would always show. You would draw pictures of your favorite monster. He would show them on the show, hang them up, and Google Superhost. He's still alive. He's around. He lives in Oregon. Yeah. And after that, there was Star Trek in the evening, and I just waited for Big Chuck, Little John to come on. It was a packed day. It was. I mean, you were exhausted by the time it was over.
Yeah, and a lot of things get overlooked now because it's readily accessible, and you forget about it.
There
and
was
you
something
go
to be said
on,
for having to catch something. When you had to buy that TV guide to see what was on.
Yeah, and underline what you were going to watch and circle. Yeah.
Yep,
I remember. Highlighters came out. You make sure you highlight.
That was my dad with the highlighter or the ink pen circling the things he wanted to watch.
This is what I'm watching. The Carol Burnett Show.
I would memorize it usually. Like, at least the things that I wanted to watch, I knew exactly when they were on.
Yeah.
And
so
if you missed it, like your Saturday morning cartoon, if you missed it, you would probably have to wait till the season was over and then maybe catch it as a rerun.
Right. Yeah. That's another thing that was a little upsetting.
If it was one of your favorite shows, either during the week or just like it is today, if you watch a network show.
Yeah.
But now you can stream it. You can go online. We couldn't do that.
Yeah.
If I missed a movie I wanted to watch when it was on, I missed it for probably about a year before they would show it again.
Yep.
So it was just a bigger deal.
Different day, different age. It's
different priorities, I guess.
Right. But yeah, the sum up of the show is pretty much that, just the experience and how much we love that and we kind of miss that. And
it'd be nice if my kids had something like that every Saturday. You gotta wake up, gotta go watch cartoons, eat your cereal. Sometimes 4 bowls of cereal, whatever.
Luckily, you can
flipping channels back and forth depending on what you wanted to watch.
Luckily, you can experience this stuff on the older movies from the 80s.
But a lot of these cartoons, a lot of the ones we mentioned, I didn't even remember until we just started talking, like the Happy Days one. And I forgot that those existed. And there's a ton of Hanna-Barbera ones that we didn't even mention.
Oh yeah, no.
I remember Saturday afternoon or like 4 to 6 when we got cable, USA Network, which also had their own horror host on Saturdays. Commander USA and his groovy movies.
Right.
He had a little cigar and he'd put, lefty. Yeah. And there was Kung Fu Theater. I watched some martial arts movies there, but they had Cartoon Express. I don't know if you even remember that. And they showed a bunch of Hanna-Barbera cartoons that I hadn't seen anywhere else, like Devlin, who was like a motorcycle stuntman.
Yeah.
Clue Club, which was sort of like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Jabberjaw.
Well, that's what was cool about the cable networks and these other ones that started spawning off. They were able to get access to stuff that the local television stations
or it was all up for grabs. Whatever nobody else had, we grab it.
Well, and then the search was on to collect every episode of all of those and play them in its entirety or get.
And there were lots of other choices too, like some of the the channels further in the dial. Sometimes they would show, like we said, Laurel and Hardy or Three Stooges, but sometimes they would show things like the old Blondie and Dagwood movies. I remember watching those, like on Channel 61.
Yeah.
Remember? I just remembered another Saturday show. Hey Vern, it's Ernest.
Hey Vern, it's
remember Ernest from you know what I mean, Vern? He had his own Saturday morning show.
Really?
Hey Vern, it's Ernest.
Yeah.
And one of the key ones we forgot to mention, an award-winning one, was Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, yeah.
So innovative that I still enjoy watching it.
I was focusing in on cartoons, but yeah, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
That was a live-action
Pee-wee's
cartoon.
Playhouse.
Who would have known Lawrence Fishburne was on that show?
Right?
Not where he got his start, but
Who was he? He was a mailman, right? Or no?
No, he was
Curtis
the Cowboy.
Curtis the Cowboy, that's right. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yep. You had the King of Cartoons. You had Miss Yvonne, and all the other characters. The Cherry, the Terry, the pterodactyl, Randy the Bully.
Yeah.
It was
that
was one
awesome,
show
man.
you couldn't miss either because it was, and he showed in between, like when the King of Cartoons would come on, those old cartoons. Going way back to the early animation,
right.
Come to find that Paul Rubens is a huge fan. Like most of the stuff in there was his stuff.
Yeah,
that he just collects quirky, kitschy stuff like that, and loves old cartoons.
Pee Wee Herman.
Paul Rubens does. So, and I'm so glad that he's paid his dues and is back in style again. Even though I didn't care for the new movie that he did as much, but I still watched it. But
cool.
That was one. You got any favorites that you want to mention before we're done, or?
No, I think we talked about it.
Talked about them all?
It's really the experience and the originals. Like the classics like Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry and all of those.
All
things.
those old ones that you can't see.
But and the classics that you brought up too, like Lancelot, Link, and the Secret Chimp. I mean,
I tried to.
I'm razzed now. I mean, so after the show, I'm going to somehow
You're gonna look for Lancelot,
search
Link.
for Lancelot.
There's full episodes
Link,
online.
and the Secret Chimp. So
Lancelot, Link, Secret Chimp.
Oh my God! So many things are running through my head right now. But we have hit the end of the show.
That's
and
right.
And hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This
comment below your favorite shows.
Yeah,
what you remember from those days.
Right? Yeah. Tell us. Comments below, man.
Yeah.
Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell too, because that's kind of the subscribe button now.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit subscribe, you must hit that bell. Otherwise, you won't get notified of us going, a video coming up. But let us know what your favorite cartoons are below.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested in it. Or if we've missed one, put it down there.
Yeah, chances are we probably just, there's so many ones that we remember.
Or if you connect with what, one that we've talked about, like Lancelot, Link, and a Secret Chimp. But the Dino and Ted show. We also got another show called The Late Late Horror Show. But this one, we do something different every week.
A lot of 80s stuff.
A lot of 80s stuff,
70s, 80s when we were growing up.
But it could be anything any given week. Like, I think we might skip next week just because of the fact that family vacation.
Yes.
But the following week, I believe we'll do some 80s kind of new wave, heavy metal versus kind of thing.
Yeah,
just some talks.
That.
Yes.
Because we're both big music.
Yes.
Nuts.
So we'll take it. We'll leave it there, and that'll be
good.
That'll be very interesting. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and another one in the books. Yes. Second show. Hope you like it, and we'll catch you next time, man.
We'll be
Dino
back
Ted
after
Show.
These messages.
Right. Oh my God. Oh, Ted, I gotta remember. Oh, I won't forget that.